So welcome. So the welcoming is the welcoming of presence. Presence has no name, no ownership. It's a formless awareness. It is the attention turning onto itself. Awareness, being aware of being aware. Which is the I am, not a personal I, but the I that is awareness, that has no borders. That does not appear in time and space. All appearances appear to I. All appearances, thoughts, perceptions, sensations refer to that, refer to thou, refer to I. I is supreme. I is absolute. Not in time and space, therefore, not in the realm of birth and death. Not in the realm of thought, not in the realm of images or concepts. In fact, I, awareness, is not in any realm. It is that which is, and its own isness refers to it. It knows itself within itself. And it knows itself as the creator of all dreams, as the creator of all impressions, all perceptions, sensations, and mentations. Like in your night dream, you know that you are the dreamer of all, the dreamer's mind, which is your own creation. Knowing yourself, a knowingness that does not leave you. In other words, a knowingness that does not leave itself is grace. That is the heart of satsang. This self-knowingness. the light of awareness that shines as itself, onto itself, as everything, being nothing else but its very self. Like the images that arise out of the mist. The substance of all these images is the mist itself, which has no substance, and yet it appears as a substance, as an image, as an impression. By mistaking yourself to be an appearance, somehow you leave your infinity to define yourself as a finite self. You abandon your wholeness to espouse a certain individuality, and thus you experience the sense of limitation and the angst of incompleteness, which we refer to as unhappiness. Unhappiness because within the core of your personal identification, there is a yearning for recognition of your true self, which is at the heart of your being, shining, calling you to return to your very self, to your wholeness, to your totality, to your globality. Everything that appears to you is cloud-like. It has no substance outside of the reality of consciousness, awareness. The preoccupation and the concerns that you experience, they refer to an imaginary self that arises to you as a feeling and a sensation within your body. Whatever arises within your body is similar to the weather that you observe within yourself. It is an internal weather that has no substance. It is mistaken to consist of a certain danger for some imaginary personal self that you feel you are. But this imaginary personal self that you feel you are is a bundle of sensations and thoughts that are cloud-like. They appear in the vastness of being, the vastness of I that has no edges, no shape and no form and no limitations whatsoever, like the wide open sky. I am. So whatever arises can be met with your complete stillness, which is the stillness of the self, the stillness of awareness, the stillness of consciousness, the silent presence, the peace. Everything that arises can be met with that sense of wonder and that not knowing. The profound stillness that is the I, which does not chase after anything, nor does it argue or resist anything, since it is borderless aware presence, the absolute reality, the one reality, the only substance that is not phenomenal, that has no opposite to it. The I has no opposite to it. Everything that you know in this very moment, which is always this very moment, any moment, this very moment, everything you know as I. There is no other knowingness. You never leave yourself. You never come and go. You are that, beyond any movement, beyond any mentation, beyond any narration, narrative free. So I welcome you as that, and whatever questions you may have. So any questions?
Hi, Meg.
Esther.
Hi there. I notice in contemplation that the mind continues to try to create images of the truth. There's like, I see what it's doing. And some of the images in the past and even now are helpful as pointers. And I remember Ramana Maharshi would use the image of a salt doll melting in the ocean. And I recognize that those images that the mind continues to provide are like the weather, as you describe it. Perhaps you could talk about those images and how the mind continues to attempt. It's like it's attempting to know the truth.
So much more important than the images that arise is to whom, to what do they arise? So images, when they arise to the wide open screen of awareness, like for example, this very image right now, as it arises, referring to the wide open screen of awareness. It is similar to a bird flying past the window. You look out, you see a bird flying from branch to branch. The image is referring to awareness, presence, absence, beingness. But when the image is arising, referring to a personal self, it triggers, it is arising and referencing the me in time and space. Such images arise referring to something that is lacking, something that you need to get, something that you need to remember, something that you need to forget, something that you need to overcome, something that you need to attain, something that you need to fix about yourself. Something that you need to utilize to become a better whatever. Now, there are some images that arise that may refer to the personal self, such that as the image of the sunshine. Just to contemplate the sun, you may be contemplating it as a personal self, and you're opening yourself to the magic of this appearance that we refer to as the sun. So you're telling the sun, here I am, this body mind. Reveal to me your mystery. Although this particular image that I just gave right now, this metaphor, still refers to a personal self, it's quite different from, for example, the image that may arise to you. Oh, he has a beautiful car. It's better than mine. I feel lesser than him. I need to get a better car than him so that in the neighborhood I have a better reputation and people respect me and think very highly of me. That is also an example of a certain thoughts, images that arise that are referring to a personal self. In the first case, the personal self is looking at creation, looking at the mystery of being and saying, here I am, reveal to me whatever you have to reveal. I am available to you. I am interested in you. I want to know you. In the other case, the personal self is saying, hey, I want this and that and that. It's referring to some material realm, objective realm, phenomenal realm that I want for myself to make myself a bigger personal self. So just to reiterate, there can be images that appear to you as awareness, where there is no sense of personal self. There is no personal need or personal desire or personal interest. There is just a sense of, oh, wow, a certain peaceful, happy not knowingness. And there are thoughts and images that arise to you that reference you to consciousness, reference you to truth. They refer you to the higher self, to the contemplation. And there are thoughts and images that arise to you to deepen your roots as a personal self. It is important to understand this distinction between the thoughts that arise to you that are strictly about you, me and not him, me and her, me and a better me. That class of thoughts and feelings, emotions, which are different from the personal thoughts that arise to you about the desire to awaken, the desire for understanding, the desire for the light of wisdom to shine onto you, through you, onto everything. And, of course, the thoughts and images that arise to you as pure awareness. You will notice once you start to pay attention that most of the images and thoughts that arise to you are just images on the screen of awareness. That is always the case. In fact, one could say that is our most common experience, which is overlooked. It is overlooked because very quickly after that pure manifestation of awareness as a thought or as an image, their mind comes in and adds a me. The me is an add-on. Our initial experience, our primary experience, is peace and happiness, which is overlooked via the overlay, the add-on of the me. This is why it is said that awakening is awakening to your true nature. It's awakening to your very self. It's a sort of relieving the veils, sort of a dissolution of the veils of personal identification. It is not discovering the self, because you already are the self. You already are this borderless aware presence. You already are the peace and happiness of being. You already are pre-Esther, pre-Namarupa, pre-names and forms. You already are precedent to mind. You are precedent to the personal self. Like in your night dreams, all the night dreams arise to the dreamer. The dreamer is precedent to the night dreams. The dreamer does not arise after the night dreams. The night dreams arise after the dreamer, out of the dreamer, as the dreamer's mind. Similarly, your primary reality is that borderless aware presence, the very reality that right now is transparently perceiving this perception as its very self, hopefully not mistaking it to be anything outside of the self. The primary experience is that transparency, the screen of awareness. And all images that arise are nothing else but awareness itself taking on that form, that shape. Believing that you exist as an object within the image is an add-on, is a choice of leaving yourself as that which is the aware presence and assuming yourself to be an object, to be immortal body mind. So as images arise to you, the images that appeal to you, that refer you to the higher self, that refer you to God, that refer you to truth, are images not to argue with, to recognize that they are referring you in one way or the other to your very self. Images that increase your happiness, that increase your unhappiness, that increase your sense of angst and your inner disturbance, are images that are referring to the personal self and maintaining the personal self and wanting to assert the personal self via argumentation, via resistance, via self-judgment and judgment of others, via sorrow and regret, via hoping and wishing, via desiring and wanting. You can recognize in your feeling state the images and the thoughts that are unhappy and do not pursue them. Return to what you are, the presence that is needing nothing, seeking nothing, lacking nothing, and that cannot be fulfilled via anything. It is fulfilled within itself. It is fulfillment itself. It is already self-fulfilled. So, in your contemplation, you contemplate the contemplator. You contemplate that which contemplates. Everything refers to the self, not myself or yourself or herself. Before the my, him, his, or hers is the self. Before any attributes, before any adjectives, before the mind is the self. So you can relax your entire body, release every sensation, turn your attention to your body, whatever that means to you, it does not matter. And whatever places, locations, sensations in your body that have any sense of contraction in them. Bring the breath to them. The breath is very wide and broad, infinite. And allow them to bathe, dissolve, and expand in the breath. In your belly, in your thighs, in your back, in your face. The entire space, whichever way you experience that. Your entire sense of being. To bring it entirely into the light and the transparency and the vastness of the breath, so that the body can also savor that transparency and that vastness and that freedom, and release the habitual tendencies in the body to contract. Could be in the belly or the chest or the neck, the face, the thighs. To feel the flow, the vastness, the vibration, the sense of wholeness and vastness in the body, which is not distinct from the entire space of being. So that in the body you can celebrate, in a way, express the truth, which is that there is no reality outside of the vastness of being, which is formless, borderless, universal. So the body is as that. The body is this vastness, is this transparency. has no form and shape. In fact, forms and shapes are add-on, in addition, the mental addition, which is not a problem as long as you do not mistake yourself to be that mental addition, to be that name and form. Any questions? Well, the next satsang would be Sunday at 3 p.m. Will be held here over our home, and I will send the link at 2:30. Oh, hello, Laurie. I just noticed your question. Magdi, do you personally experience moods? Maybe we should ask this question to Tara. um, so, like, for example, uh, this morning, I went to work and the crew was setting a set of stairs in the wrong location, in the wrong way. And I am their boss. So they had already done a bunch of incorrect work, which has a significant cost. So I was very stern, very directive. Also, I reminded them that although they get their wages every Friday, that doing shoddy work gives a very bad impression to the client, ends up costing double the amount. And for them, it does not matter because they're getting their wage every week. But in fact, it does matter. Because in the long run, maybe not such a long run, it will affect them, because it is affecting the entire relationship with the client. It's affecting the income of the company, and they are part of the company. It's going to affect them. And I expressed that in a very, one could say, stern, severe, serious manner. But I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to by mood. Are you online here, Laurie? No, I do not see. Okay. So sometimes I am tired, meaning the body is tired, and I don't feel like having conversations, or I just want to be silent and rest. But I don't think that's you refer to by mood. So I would say that the entire realm of personal moods and that whole thing, because it always refers to something that you want or something that you don't want, some resistance. At some level or the other, a mood refers to some subtle or maybe not so subtle personal desire or personal condition. Like if you want the weather to be sunny while it's gray, you're feeling gray and moody and grumpy. Oh, it's not sunny today. In fact, today is very beautiful. I don't know if you could see. If you could see, let me see if I can show you. It's really good. I don't know if you can you see. It's a sunny, like very, very lovely, slightly gray, rainy. It's raining. Yeah. So, so the condition of wanting things to be different, that whole realm, when you're when this whole dynamic of the personal self dissolves into presence, you're no longer experiencing these moods, that you're affected by this or that or that. This does not mean that you don't act, or sometimes you express yourself in a certain way. Like, for example, like in the past, when people used to cut me off in traffic, it would upset me and I would be like in a bad mood, oh, these people driving on the road like that. All of that dissolves. It's maybe a very simple example. And also, something else that occurs, Laurie, is that you no longer, somehow your relationships change. You're no longer relating. It happens less and less, if at all, that you're relating with peoples and situations. It may occur, of course, but overall, it comes a trickle of relating with peoples and situations that are upsetting. Somehow, that whole there is some sort of a sifting process, a natural sifting process, where your life becomes more and more simpler, there's more and more clarity, and you don't engage in directions that are unhappy. So, let's say, okay. Do you feel stern? The question that Laurie asked, do you feel stern? Yeah, I could say that. Yeah, I could say that I feel stern. I am stern. I feel stern. Yes, yes. When Laurie is referring to the example I was giving before, when I was at work and giving directives. But at the same time, what's interesting is that at some level, I'm aware that all is well. Not just I'm aware, I'm experiencing all is well. It's just an unfolding. There is nothing at stake. That's the crucial thing, is that there is nothing at stake. Uh, okay, you're welcome, Laurie. Abdul, hello, Abdul. This is a question on the YouTube channel. My question, I feel like I'm serving out a sentence in this life. Oof. Feels like hell. What do you do when there is no motivation to play the game? Freedom seems so simple, but almost impossibly so. Abdul, goodness. Okay. Abdul, this life is magical. Magical. Look at this very moment, right here, right now, this moment of presence. Forget about the past and the story and your past and your future and all these thoughts. Just now. This moment of wonder. Just breath and being. No time, no story, no history. You see, this sense of being condemned to serving out a sentence, a life sentence. It's stories. It's about yesterday and tomorrow and me and him. And but in this moment, it's a fresh moment. Every moment is a fresh moment. Just that. Can you, can you just notice this timeless moment right now? It's a breathing, being, pure awareness, just awareness. Not having to figure anything out. This is your true self, is just this presence. Everything else is a story. Life sentence or whatever. It's a story. It's a story. It's a feeling. The feeling tries to grab you, tries to define you, but it can't. You cannot be defined by a feeling. In deep sleep, where is that feeling? Right now, where is the feeling of serving life sentence? In this moment. In order to find that you are serving a life sentence, you have to go to thinking. But thinking appears to you. It appears to you, right? Whatever appears to you. It's just an image on the screen. It does not define you, even if it appears as a sensation in your body. I am not denying that. It's a sensation arising in your body, in your gut, in your chest. It's still a sensation that is appearing to you. Whatever appears to you cannot define you. You are not defined by what you perceive. If you perceive the oak tree does not define you. If you perceive the ocean does not define you. If you perceive a cloud, the cloud does not define you. If you perceive a toothache, the toothache does not define you. You are undefined. And that's perfect. That's freedom. But we want to be defined as good, better, we've got it, we'll figure it out, we're this, we're that. It's all images. The body is serving a life sentence because the body is born in April 2012 and passes in June 2060, whatever. So the body is serving life sentence. Who cares? You're not the body. The body appears to you, you see. The body appears to you. If you believe you are the body, then yes, you will believe and you will feel that you are serving a life sentence. So ask yourself, am I the body or am I that which perceives the body? You perceive the body as bodily sensations, right? You perceive the body. You perceive the body as images, thoughts. You perceive the body as perceptions. You look in the mirror, you perceive a perception, right? But you are not that which is perceived, you see, right? You are the awareness. That is not a thing. It's not a thing. A table is a thing. A hand is a thing. A thought is a thing. An object. But that which perceives, that which hears right now, the reality that perceives right now, that is not an object. That's what I is. That is the true I. Abdul is an add-on. It's a name given to the body, you see. We call the body Magdi, Abdul, Mary, Joey. We call the body, you see. It's okay to call the body Magdi. Oh, yes, Magdi, as Abdul. We call the car. Some people call their cars Cinderella, or some people call their car, I don't know, help me out, whatever. Birdie, I don't know. That the car is not the name, you see. You are not Abdul. You are not the body. You are awareness. The body is serving life sentence, which is the cycle of transformation, right? Like ice is serving a life sentence because sooner or later it's going to melt. It becomes water. Water is serving a life sentence because sooner or later it becomes vapor. Vapor is serving a life sentence because sooner or later it becomes rain. Rain is serving a life sentence because sooner or later it becomes a lake or a river. A river is serving a life sentence because sooner or later it becomes absorbed into the plant and it becomes sap within the trees and within the plants, etc. You got what I'm saying. I think you did. It's a cycle of transformation. The cycle of the phenomenal realm is a transformation. But you have to recognize yourself, you see. Yourself is not what you perceive. So I encourage you, Abdul, to contemplate, what am I truly? Am I the body that is serving a life sentence? Or am I the awareness that has no beginning and no end, that does not exist in time and space, that is beyond birth and death? So thank you for your question, Abdul.
Hi, Magdi.
Hello, Anne.
I've heard some speakers talk about the lack, and probably you've talked about this as well, the lack of, that there's no continuity, that it's just like flashing images on a screen that our mind puts together as continuing, and also the lack of meaning in that. And again, our mind gives the images on the screen stories and meaning. And I'm not sure, but I feel like I've had sort of times of that happening here. I just wondered if you could say anything about that.
Yes. So in our experience, we experience that there is a continuity. We experience that things are sort of connected and continuing. When we look closer at our experience, we find that images are constantly changing. They're changing so rapidly that it's impossible via the human senses to detect those frames. Because they're so quick. But we can understand, in spite of how quick the images are changing, we can come to the understanding, to the experiential understanding that, in fact, yes, I'm just perceiving this perception, this perception, this perception. So, and that applies to thoughts and to sensations. So there seems to be some sort of contradiction between that. In one sense, I'm experiencing a sense of continuity. In another sense, when I contemplate what we just, looking closely at my experience, I find that I'm never experiencing the same sensation or the same thoughts or the same perception from microseconds to microseconds. So what is this continuity? What is the sense of continuity or the discontinuity that we're talking about? Now, when we turn our attention to continuity, if something is continuous, that means it is constantly interconnected. It cannot be separate in any way, because if it's separate, then between those two objects, there is a discontinuity. So continuity refers, in fact, more to a wholeness than continuity. So the term continuity itself has within it the implication that there is something that is continuing within something else. So, like the horse is running onto the field, or the rider is still riding the horse. So the term continuity itself has a certain assumption within it, that there is some object that is continuing in time and space. While in fact, when we contemplate what truly continuity means, it means the complete absence of discontinuity. And when you look at your experience, the only thing, which is not a thing, that you find to be completely absent of discontinuity is awareness. Not the forms that appear to awareness, but awareness itself. You never experience the absence of awareness. You can experience the absence of an image, the absence of a sensation, the absence of a perception, the absence of a thought, but you never experience the absence of awareness. Because if you would experience the absence of awareness, what would experience it? It's an impossibility. Awareness is. So coming back to your question, Anne, so the continuity is actually the continuity of awareness or the continuity of consciousness, whichever word you use, presence, Brahman, whatever word you want to use. But I don't use the term continuity. I use the term the reality or the absolute beingness or borderless presence as opposed to continuity. Because continuity somehow refers to object in time and space. I think that was the first part of your question, but there was another part of your question. What was it again?
Meaning.
Meaning. So, in terms of meaning, something means something to something else. Something can mean something to me, it means something else to you. Something can mean something to me now, it can mean something else to me later. So, there is sort of two ways of looking at meaning. There is the relative meaning and the absolute meaning. The relative meaning is the meaning that we attribute to a certain event or a certain experience via a personal mind. So we could experience the same experience from many different angles. Or, for example, now we're experiencing all sorts of world events, and some people are experiencing them from their own perspective, whether it's in the same village or different countries or different states, etc. And they attribute different variation of meanings to the same event. So that would be on the relative realm, the meaning that we attribute to the meaning that the mind attributes, meaning thoughts that arise about a certain, that relate to a certain object, whether it's about the weather, a political event, a new baby is born in the family, whatever. Some people feel, oh my goodness, more population explosion. Others feel, oh, how wonderful, one more battery in the family. I don't feel that way. So that's on the relative plane. And that's just mind, which is fine. It's fine. It's actually fine as long as we don't start fighting and killing each other over, my meaning is better than your meaning. All right?
Which happens.
Please. On the absolute sense, there is, we could say, a meaning that is true to everybody and to all minds, irrespective of time and space. So if you ask around, go around the 7 billion people and ask them what do we have in common that we all really agree on as it has meaning, you will find love, peace, happiness, freedom, joy, recognizing each other, as brothers and sisters, as leaves of the same tree, or trees of the same forest. That's what you will find. That we agree on. We disagree on the political point of view. We disagree on the ecology. We disagree on many, many different things. But what we agree on are these qualities. And when you look at these qualities, you find that they are the qualities of consciousness, the qualities of truth. They are absolute. Love is absolute. Freedom is absolute. Honor is absolute. Respect is absolute. Honesty is absolute. Truth is absolute. Reality is absolute. Whichever way we then try to interpret them, that's a different matter. And in a way, the contemplation of the self is about awakening to the absolute meaning, awakening to love, truth, freedom, happiness, joy, wisdom, wholeness.
Yeah, that's really good. Thank you. Really good. My experience, the reason I asked the question is because today was the first day that I've ever sort of experienced that I think I did anyway, the non-continuity, because what seems to be happening is, whatever word we use, consciousness, awareness, seems to becoming very, this is a very continuous something.
Yes.
That's nothing really.
Yes.
In a way, yeah. It's just empty, and then there's emptiness, and then there's the fullness of the images and the dancing around what's
Yes.
going on.
Right.
And obviously I'm still ungluing myself.
That's the fullness of presence.
That's the fullness, good. And I'm still ungluing myself from that, because it's kind of, let's say, meing and being, yeah, of that. But this continuous consciousness is becoming much stronger in its continuity. And today the flashes, the vision of me was very sort of disjointed, almost like time had slowed down and you could see the gaps, and all the meaning then was taken away, and then there was a lightness to it.
Yes.
And it's like nothing mattered, nothing meant anything. It was all meaning that had been put on top of it.
Yes.
So that is what we're talking about here, is it?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Relative meaning is, it's a play. Right? It's a play.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the absolute meaning is this presence, this peace, the freedom, the self-being, the peace. Yeah.
Yeah.
The words around it doesn't matter too much. What matters is beyond the words. Yes.
The sort of sense of it.
Yes.
Yeah. And so the stickiness is the meaning, the false meaning and content of the dream, and the illusion that it's a continuous, real, solid thing.
Mm-hmm. There, whatever impressions arise, that they seem sticky, or whichever way they seem, they can also be perceived. Their emptiness can also be perceived. No matter how dense they may seem, it is possible to also perceive a very darker cloud to be just empty, and a very thin cloud to be equally empty. As an apparition, as an appearance that is appearing in the body and mind, and we have no issue with it. Yes, we have no issue. We're not trying to work it so that it is better for me. Yes.
Yeah, it's just a free flow. Yeah. Yeah.
So you are, as that. As presence, as beingness, as peace. Whatever appears on the screen. And the screen is as it is. Whether there are very gentle waves or whether there are images that are much more energetic.
Whether there's a tsunami.
Yes, well, hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Well, I have had quite a lot of those in my life.
we all
We're all
aware
of them.
of the tsunamis.
Yeah, unfortunately. Just one more thing that I've just remembered as well is when I was walking along today, and I hear other speakers speaking in a slightly different way to you. You might have said this, but I can't remember. But they'll say, I think you've said this as well. There's no one driving; it's just driving, or there's no one singing; it's just singing. And today, because I've had a problem with when I'm walking around, sort of feeling the weight of my body and being conscious of that and thinking I'm real because I can feel my body moving. But today when I was walking, the difference was all of a sudden it was just walking. So there's no one walking, it was just walking, and I understood what was meant.
Beautiful.
So now when I'm speaking to you, as I'm talking, my hands, the hands moving.
Yes.
Yeah. It's kind of, I think what helps me with that is when you say the reality of my experience, because if you stay in your experience, you stay in the sense of it, it's not personal. It's just a sense of walking.
Yes.
A sense of hand moving.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there is a neutrality about the sensation. They vary. Some are yellow, some are green, some are red, some are pink, whatever. Using this sort of color metaphor, but they're all equal in their neutrality.
Yeah, there is definitely a neutrality.
To the self, to the screen.
That's great, Magdi. Thanks very much. Really helpful.
Okay, Anne.
Good to see you back.
Yes.
I didn't realise you'd gone away, and I was waiting.
Yes.
The other day, and I thought, oh
yes.
no.
Yes.
So.
And I went to Ajijic Lake Chapala in Mexico. Had a really wonderful time. Very lovely place. Actually, there is even the thought of organizing a retreat out there, but it's still being considered. It's a very lovely place to do so.
And then Europe next.
Yeah?
And then one in Europe, please.
Wherever the weather blows the leaf.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Magdi?
Yes. Yes. Hello, Zoe.
Hi, did you have another question on the screen?
No, I was.
I just saw you looking now. Okay.
Laurie and Abdul, and they say thank you, and I'm saying
Okay.
thank you back.
Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't going to say this, but I heard Anne. It's just like, wow, it is so good to see you back.
Nice.
And maybe maybe you could talk about the relationship with the teacher. Because I too, like Anne, was going, what has happened? Where has he gone?
Yes.
And there was definitely this awareness of like, wow, this attachment. And anyway, so if you could
Yeah.
speak a little bit about that and maybe how the relationship with the teacher changes. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. Well, we could say that the relationship with the teacher is a love relationship. So there is love and love. There is loving the form, loving the object, loving something. And there is just love, love. It's the love of love, the loving love, the celebration of love, which is, in a way, it celebrates itself in a relationship. It celebrates itself in presence. It celebrates itself in going for a walk. It celebrates itself in many different ways. And it celebrates itself in a relationship with a teacher. So a teacher is an aspect of yourself that is the core aspect of yourself, the pure self. Not that the teacher is pure and you are not. No, not that way. It's an aspect of yourself. It is your very self that you are loving in and as the teacher, because the teacher is an expression and a representation and you could say maybe even a manifestation of your very self, not the self that is conditioned, that is born and dies, not the self that is made out of stories and memories and past and future, but the self, the true self that has no time and space to it, that does not live or exists in time and space. So it's like a source, in the old days before we had faucets and we open the faucet and we drink, or we open the refrigerator and get a bottle of water and drink. In the old days, there used to be a source, a spring. And people knew, where the spring was. And they would go to the spring to drink and to feel the freshness of the water and to fulfill their thirst. In a way, as a metaphor, a teacher is something like that. As a metaphor, is a place where you go to fill the jar to refresh yourself.
Yes, for sure. Thank you. That's exactly right.
And to experience your happiness. But the happiness doesn't belong to the teacher. It's doesn't belong to anybody. It is just happiness, you see. And we do experience that sometimes with friends or in different situations, but it's so finite. It's like with the teacher, you experience it. It's always there in a way, and it's grace really. The teacher is not somebody special who does something special and becomes special. It's all God's doing. It's God's grace somehow. there is no explanation for it. It's like a seed somehow falls infertile, and then you have a 50-foot tall oak tree. Another seed is a 20-foot tall oak tree. It's completely impersonal, you see, completely impersonal. So at a certain point in our journey, we start to feel this affinity for the teacher and for the teaching. And it becomes more and more present in our life. The teacher and the teaching becomes more and more part of us, somehow within us, living as us. And there is a calling that may arise within us to come to the teacher and to be with the teacher and to experience the life of the teacher, to interact with the teacher in so many different ways, satsang, or just being together, or whichever way. Because there's always a teaching. Somehow, teacher without teaching is somehow the teaching. It is the living teaching. It's an embodied teaching that somehow the teaching has become the teacher. And so in your journey, you get closer and closer to the ocean. And when you get closer to the ocean, you start from a distance to smell the ocean, to feel the ocean. Although you haven't yet arrived to the ocean, you start to, and you get every step that takes you closer and closer into the smell, into the sense of the ocean, is the right direction towards the ocean. And every step that takes you further and further away from that is a step not towards the ocean. And whenever you stop and you say, well, that's good enough, I'm good enough there, then you have not to, for now, not to have gone to the ocean. But the teacher is always calling you in the silent presence, is calling you to yourself. And the teaching also starts to become alive in you and also pulls you towards the self, towards yourself. Also, the teacher, every interaction that you have with the teacher, whichever it is, whether it's about your life or question about the scriptures, or whatever interaction you have with the teacher, there is in it the hand of God. And that's a good hand.
Thank you, Mandy. I realized just how spoiled I am. Thank you again for all your time. Yeah.
At some point, when you and the teacher are one. Then, like Francis Lucilius used to say, sometimes you're just hanging out. You hang out, yeah, hang out. You're hanging out with the teacher because with the teacher you're learning how to live the teaching. It's very subtle. There is also that aspect of living the teaching. And also with the teacher, you also learn about teaching that may appeal to you. So there is also the learning about the teaching, how the teacher speaks, how he or she addresses questions, their entire way of sharing and exploring.
Yes, in particular, I see, what's been reflected is my judgments and stuff. When I see you interacting, I see how that's so completely absent. So, yes, that's been just an incredible learning. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so learning to live the teaching, yes. Well, any questions? So, okay, then we see you on Sunday. Yes, Da? Yes, see you on Sunday. And just a reminder that we will be away. It's getting around the corner of April 6 to April 11, like 5 to 11, something like that in Costa Rica for the retreat. But we still have some time to meet before then. So, namaste, everyone. Thank you for your lovely company, all of you on YouTube, and Anne and Esther, Holly, hello, Holly, Isaac, and Maria, Maru, okay. Oh yeah, and Zoe, hello, Ashby. Okay, wonderful to see you all.
Thank you, Magdi.
Okay, Anne, okay, see you all.